boom, 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 boom. I stumbled upon In the Mood for Love one night during my research for World Cinema class. I knew I wanted to delve into East Asian films, but I didn't know where to start, so I did a quick Google search. The first website that popped up was an IMDb list titled The 25 Best East Asian Movies. The first movie on the list was Spring, Summer, Fall, Winter, and Spring by Kim Ki-duk, but the title, In the Mood for Love, grabbed my attention more. It sounded sweet, but the poster looked promiscuous, so without hesitation, I gave it a watch. In the Mood for Love was such a beautiful film, capturing love in a way I'd never seen before. I began to romanticize my life, honestly. Wong Kar-Wai is a very influential director, screenwriter, and producer from Hong Kong. His work involved the intentional use of primary colors, which complements his intimate and dreamlike mise-en-scène, and a disjointed narrative style that makes his story so intriguing. Growing up in the generation that experienced the post-globalization of Hong Kong, Wong Kar-Wai's films are inspired by his hometown. As a result, Wong Kar-Wai depicts his stories in a way that conveys nostalgia for the emotional connection tied to his life. If it's not clear already, this video essay will examine Wong Kar-Wai's mise-en-scène and In the Mood for Love and Fallen Angels, and why his films create a distinct atmosphere that cultivates his audience, especially those who are new to his work. In the Mood for Love takes place in Hong Kong in a very tight space and chaotic apartment building in the 1960s. The story follows Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow, who coincidentally moved into the same apartment building at the same time. Wong Kar-Wai engages with effective color choices to follow the emotional plot of this film. In the opening scene, we see a beautiful shot of Mrs. Chan standing in the window of her apartment. One thing I noticed about this shot is the vibrant primary colors in the mise-en-scène. The color choices and flower symbolism set the tone for the journey of the story. Red representing the passion and desire that Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow feel for each other, because they grow a love that they cannot act upon. Yellow represents the dignity that Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow tried to hold for themselves because they didn't want to feed into the infidelity their partners had created. The flowers represent romance, intimacy, and delicacy, as Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow have a romantic yearning for one another. Fallen Angels takes place in modernized Hong Kong in the 1990s, telling the story of unrequited love through 5 characters: Charlie, Ho Chi Mo, Blondie, Wong Chi Ming, and the assassin's agent. To make a complicated story short, Wong Chi Ming's agent falls in love with him even though they never met. In turn, Blondie loves Wong Chi Ming, but he simply does not feel the same for her. Ho Chi Mo falls for Charlie, who is still emotionally attached to her ex. One of the main features of Fallen Angels is the super wide lens that is used throughout most of the film. To me, this cinematic choice signifies the loneliness embedded within the emotional fantasies of the characters. While the characters appear to be distant and their environment feels expansive, they are physically close to one another, which kind of makes the theme of love complex. You could be so close to someone, they'll feel so far, and that's when your imagination takes control. There's one scene where Ho Chi Mo and Charlie are sitting at a restaurant. The scene begins with Ho Chi Mo narrating so poetically about how he fell in love with Charlie. They sit next to one another at the counter when Ho Chi Mo moves closer to her. His movements are passionate. He smells Charlie, checks her out, gracefully touches her hair, pretends to embrace her, and gently lays his head on her shoulder. Though Ho Chi Mo's gestures are soft-hearted and tender, Charlie remains unbothered, sitting with her head resting on her right hand, unconcerned. I feel like the space of this scene mirrors Charlie's emotional detachment from Ho Chi Mo, as she doesn't show any sign of affection towards him. Additionally, the pace of this scene mirrors Ho Chi Mo because he is in a moment that is probably moving faster than what is being portrayed, idealizing his emotions. This video essay explored and analyzed Wong Kar-Wai's mise-en-scène and In the Mood for Love and Fallen Angels, emphasizing how distinct and unique his work is through his cinematic choices. From what I examine, Wong Kar-Wai focuses on elements like color, lighting, and framing, creating dreamlike worlds that make you want to romanticize your life like I did. He takes these elements and creates stories that are complex and unspoken, and that's what makes his films so remarkable and meaningful.